what are the key, let's look at the key provisions of these four tax reform bills and how they will impact individuals and businesses.
Once again, thanks, Damola. Let me start by even commending the House of Reps for the quick passage of those bills. We expect that in no distant time the Senate will also do same, so that the harmonized version can be submitted to the President for assent. As you know, the bills are four. You have the if you like, the omnibus bill. Okay, that's the Nigerian tax bill that seeks to, if you like, consolidate all the pieces of legislation, tax legislation we have here and there. You have the PIT, you have the CI, personal income tax, you have the company's income tax, you have the stamp duties. So you have them, all over. The value-added tax, petroleum profit tax, So what that bill, seeks to do is to consolidate them, so that a typical taxpayer doesn't need to be going from one searching, different documents. You have the whole thing in one document, okay? And it also the entire bills, okay, also seek to even modernize the tax system. I talked about consolidation. Your consolidation and also reflecting, current realities. Take the case of the stamp duties, for example. Okay, the Stamp Duties Act that we are still operating in Nigeria today was enacted in 1939, in April 1939. And that is why, of course, we've had, amendments here and there. But you still find in that act things that are obsolete in terms of maybe sanctions or penalties. You still find references to kobo, whereas we have gone way, past that. So, yeah, so that's the NTB. Then you also have the Tax Administration Bill. Okay. That also, if you check the Tax Administration Bill, it goes, in sync with the tax, the Nigerian tax bill. And then the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill. Okay, what that one seeks to do is to have just one agency that collects, taxes, in Nigeria for the purpose of harmonization. And that's why it seeks to replace the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Yes. Okay, such that collections, all manner of collections done by agencies like Nigerian Port Authority, done by NIMASA, okay, done by Customs, okay, are now centralized. Okay, there are people that argue, if you look at it critically, Customs should actually focus on their primary mandate, which is, trade facilitation, and of course, monitoring the borders. So those are the primary mandates of the Customs. So in terms of collection, that the collection should actually be done by a centralized body. You have that in some other jurisdictions. In the UK, for example, and to some extent in India. In the UK, you have the Her Majesty's Revenue Service that does all the, all the collections. So it has its own merits. As I said, one of the things it does is also to plug leakages. Okay, take the case of VAT, for example. You know that value-added tax is largely collected by the Federal Inland Revenue Service, right? Yes, but there is also the value-added tax component that is collected by the Customs. The import, VAT component is collected by the Customs. So you find a particular tax item being collected by different agencies. So what this revenue service will do will be to centralize collection. As I said, you plug leakages, okay? You also enhance accountability because from that central pool, you can, know what exactly is coming in with respect to a particular tax line, all right? Then, of course, you also have the fourth one is the Joint Revenue Board Establishment, bill, Joint Revenue Board, okay? Well, again, what that one seeks to do is to not only set up the Joint Tax Board, but also the Office of the Tax Ombudsman. Okay. Yes, currently we have the Joint Tax Board. Okay. Joint Tax Board comprises you have the State Internal Revenue Service, and then the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Of course, the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service is the chairman of the Joint Tax Board. Okay, but their role currently, has to do more with the personal income tax, issues around the PIT. But what this one seeks to do is to provide a body that will, if you like, wade in terms of disputes arising from, all manner of taxes.
Okay.
Yes, especially with respect to these multiple, taxes. Okay, and interjurisdictional taxes. So the Joint Tax Board, will handle that, including the Office of the Tax, Ombudsman. Okay. And that's why in those bills it has made provision that the funding of the Joint Tax Board and the Office of the Tax Ombudsman, in case of resolution of disputes, okay, will now be done from the Consolidated Revenue Fund, as opposed to leaving the open, asking them to go and be getting gifts and so on, to dilute their role. Okay. So essentially, I think the 4 bills, okay, that well, I would say, stay before the Assembly, especially that of the Senate, and will soon be presented to the President for assent. I think they will go a long way to improve the business climate that we have in Nigeria. If you look at the ease of doing business, ease of paying tax is one of the major pillars. And we have always lagged, in terms of the ranking on the ease of paying taxes. So this one will surely facilitate ease of paying taxes. Okay. Remember, the bills are also seeking to harmonize asset taxes, reduce the multiplicity of taxes. Okay, today we have officially we have as many as 60. Unofficially, as many as 200. So what this one is seeking to do is to streamline all those multiplicity of taxes to a single digit, not more than 9. So when you have that kind of system, of course, that makes your tax system simple. A good tax system has to be simple. Okay, that also makes your tax system, convenient. A good tax system has to be, convenient. Okay, people should know. Should not have difficulty paying taxes. And people should also know what taxes to pay and when to pay them. So a good tax system should also be certain. So you have the principles of tax, okay, the essential principles of tax, or you can also the canons of tax, okay, they are all integrated into this tax bill. So whether you're talking about equity, certainty, simplicity, they are all enshrined in these bills. And that also goes to, speak to the issue of, again, what's the overall objective. I've talked about the idea of, enabling businesses. And that's also why you find these, massive exemptions. Exempting businesses with turnover of now increased to, 50 million. Yeah. So that's to enable small businesses breed. Okay. So our current tax system doesn't appear equitable. It doesn't appear equitable. And I just give you an example with respect to small businesses. Look at the case of personal income tax as well. If you look at personal income tax today, it would appear that the poor person, the low income earner, are the ones even paying tax. Yes. Because if you look at the way the thing is graduated, you find first 300, okay, 7%. So once you are earning income, okay, you must pay tax 700. And if you look at the top bracket, okay, above 3.2 million is 24%. So that tells you that anybody that is earning up to that this thing pays as much as 24%. And today, because of inflation, because of exchange rate issues, okay, a lot of people are already in that bracket. Yes, but what this one has done now is to increase it to reflect current reality. Now, you don't pay. You won't be expected to pay as much as 25%, top, unless you are earning as much as 50 million. Okay. So it's above 50 million that will now be subjected to 25%, 25% tax. Now, if you are earning below 800,000, you don't even pay tax at all. So that's the major difference between this one and the current one and the new one.
So if you're earning below 800,000, yes, you don't pay tax at all.
Yes, and the House of Reps, and the one they passed, they even made it clear. They said anybody earning minimum wage should not pay tax. And if you calculate minimum wage multiply by 12, it comes around that. So if you're earning minimum wage, you don't pay tax at all. That is not what is currently obtainable.
Okay, which means that most of the civil servants will not
Will
likely,
not exactly.
they will be exempted
They,
from this tax.
yes, they'll be exempted. That's also the point Nigerian Nigerians should understand that that the whole idea is to remove the burden of tax from the low income earner.
Okay.
Okay, and then let the rich, okay, pay more of this tax, because that is what obtains in many jurisdictions. In South Africa, elsewhere, the bulk of the personal income tax that is collected from the people that are earning, huge income.